Vasamsi, Junani, Yatha, Vihaya, Vasamsi, Junani, Yatha, Vihaya, Navani, Grinati, Naro, Parani, Navani, Grinati, Naro, Parani, Tata, Sharirani, Vihaya, Jirnani, Tata Sharirani, Vihaya, Jirnani. Oh, yeah, it's right. Tata Sharirani, Vihaya, Jirnani. Anyani, Samyati, Navani, Dehi, Anyani, Samyati, Navani, Dehi. Listen to this verse, and how much repetition of sound there is. It's very poetic, the way it's put together. And the Vedic poems, rhyming is not just something you do at the end of the line. It's something that can be done all different ways throughout the line. So there's a lot of different kinds of rhyming in here. It's quite beautiful. Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya, Navani grinati naroparani, Tata sharirani vihaya jirnani, Anyani samyati navani dehi, Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya, Navani grinati naroparani, Tata sharirani vihaya jirnani, Anyani samyati navani dehi. Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya, Navani grinati naroparani, Tata sharirani vihaya jirnani, Anyani samyati navani dehi. This is one of the most fun verses for me to say. Okay, please chant.
Samsi janani yata vihaya, Navani granati naroparani, Tata sarirani vihaya janani, Anyani samyati navani dehi.
Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya, Navani grinati naroparani, Tata sharirani vihaya jinani, Anyani samyati navani dehi.
Anybody else? Ladies? No? Maybe? Okay. So word meanings. Vasamsi. Garments. Jirnani. Old and worn out. Yata. Just as. Vihaya. Giving up. Navani. New garments. Grinati. Does accept. Nara. A man. Aparani. Others. Tata. In the same way. Sharirani. Bodies. Vihaya. Giving up. Jirnani. Old and useless. Anyani. Different. Samyati. Verily accepts. Navani. New sets. Dehi. The embodied. The translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. So please repeat. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. purport by Prabhupada, change of body by the atomic individual soul is an accepted fact. Even the modern scientists who do not believe in the existence of the soul, but at the same time cannot explain the source of energy from the heart, have to accept continuous changes of body which appear from childhood to boyhood and from boyhood to youth and again from youth to old age. From old age, the change is transferred to another body. This has already been explained in a previous verse, 2:13. Let's stop talking for a second here before I read the rest. Saying that the scientists, they don't believe in the soul and they don't believe in the transmigration of the soul, but they still have to undergo these changes. And inside their body, they're still the same person thinking, I this, I that. And yet, all these changes. And they look in the mirror, they don't see the same person in the mirror as when they were little. So the body's changing anyways. So, but the body changes, the soul changes to a new body from the old body. So it's called transmigration of the soul. So the question might be, how does the soul go from one body to another? How does it not just get lost somewhere? In a sense, we're lost because we don't know where we are, but are we really lost or are we still cared for? So the rest of this is about the super soul, and so what I'm going to talk to you about today is really the super soul who guides us in our transmigration and our journey. So I'll continue reading. Transference of the atomic individual soul to another body is made possible by the grace of the super soul. The super soul fulfills the desire of the atomic soul as one friend fulfills the desire of another. The Vedas, like the Mundaka Upanishad, as well as the Svetashvatara Upanishad, compare the soul and the super soul to two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. One of the birds, the individual atomic soul, atomic means the size of an atom. The soul is the size of, even though the soul fills the whole body with consciousness because it's so naturally powerful, being spirit, it's just the size of an atom, so it's called atomic. It's lost me. It's bumped it. Okay. You bump your phone, you lose your price. Okay. To compare the soul and the super soul is Krishna's presence in your heart. So we'll talk more about that. To two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. The tree, of course, is the body. One of the birds, the individual atomic soul, is eating the fruit of the tree, and the other bird, Krishna, is simply watching his friend. Of these two birds, although they are the same in quality, one is captivated by the fruits of the material tree, while the other is simply witnessing the activities of his friend. Krishna is the witnessing bird, and Arjuna is the eating bird. Although they are friends, one is still the master, and the other is the servant. Forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another, or from one body to another. The jiva soul is struggling very hard on the tree of the material body, but as soon as he agrees to accept the other bird as the supreme spiritual master, as Arjuna agreed to do by voluntary surrender unto Krishna for instruction, the subordinate bird immediately becomes free from all lamentations. Yes, I'm still in it. Both the Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.2 and Shvetashvatara Upanishad 4.7 confirm this. Samane rikshe purusho nimagno nishaya shochati muyamanaha justam jada pashyati anyam isham asya mahimanam iti shokaha. Although the two birds are in the same tree, the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree. He's enjoying misery, right? Trying to enjoy, that's the problem. But if in some way or other he turns his face to his friend, who is the Lord, and knows his glories, his friend's glories, at once the suffering bird becomes free from all anxieties. Arjuna has now turned his face towards his eternal friend Krishna and is understanding the Bhagavad Gita from him. And thus, hearing from Krishna, he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord and be free from lamentation. So there is another paragraph, but it's not so much what I'm going to talk about. So I'll stop here for a minute. And so these two birds are two souls. We always thought there was one soul in the body, right? But there's two souls in the body, and one of them is me, and the other is my friend. So and I am in fact this soul, me, the individual, or any of you, we are part and parcel of this friend. So we're related intimately. We're the same quality. Differences, we're tiny, and he's unlimited. He's in everybody's body, and he's also in every atom, and he's also in the spiritual world. So, and the whole material world is coming from him. So, in contrast to that, I'm just a little lost soul, trying to figure out how to work this body, and I can't do it without help from him. So there's quite a difference between the two souls. Also, I is the individual soul. I'm in the illusion I'm trying to enjoy the fruits of my efforts. So I'm trying to make things go well so I can enjoy them, right? And things don't go well, so I suffer. And so I'm eating those fruits too. It's like I'm eating fruits. Some of the fruits are bitter and sour, and some of the fruits are sweet. So, and the sweet fruits don't last very long, so you just eat a sweet fruit, it's gone. And there's probably a lot more sour and bitter fruits than there are sweet fruits. Still, I'm eating. So, my friend is watching. My friend knows everything. In fact, is the source of everything, including me. And but he wants me to voluntarily turn to him. That's the situation here. The tree is the body. It also symbolizes the whole effort of trying to do activities and get good results, which is the whole karma thing. So this is the situation. And just to confirm about this supersoul is a translation of the Sanskrit word Paramatma. And Paramatma means above, and Atma means soul. So Paramatma is the soul above his soul, or the super soul, the greater soul, over soul. Different ways to pronounce that. We're just the jiva soul. Just jiva means the tiny soul. So it's super soul. And here's in 1042. Let's see, back on 1042. Okay. Last verse in chapter 10. Arjuna has asked about Krishna's opulences, and Krishna has given him all kinds of examples of his opulences as seen in the creation. So he ends up saying this one, 1042, Atava bahu naitena kim yatena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham krishnam ekam sena stito jagat. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Anybody has got some idea that there's a philosophy that floats around the world that we could become God if we just knew. If we got liberated from our illusion, we would understand that we're God. So tell me if you feel that you are pervading and supporting the entire universe. I don't think so. We don't know what's in the next room or the next person's mind or the next person's purse. So with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. And the first sentence of the purport, Prabhupada explains it exactly. The Supreme Lord is represented throughout the entire material universe, says there's more than one universe, by his entering into all things as the super soul. So all things are made of his energy, and he enters into all of them as the super soul. So this Paramatma is really, really all-pervasive. Really, it's amazing. This friend that accompanies each of us is quite an amazing friend. He's an expansion of an expansion of an expansion of Krishna. So Krishna in the spiritual world, who plays his flute and herds cows and has boyfriends and girlfriends, is the source of everything. But that's what he does. But he also expands himself. And the intimate things that he does not expand them out of his realm. But he expands everything else of himself, and that first expansion is Balaram. Who's heard of? Anybody not hear of Balaram? You know, who's Balaram? Anybody not know? I can't really see for sure. You don't know. Balaram is, in the spiritual world, Balaram is Krishna's brother. Balaram looks just like Krishna, but he's white. Krishna's bluish, like a new dark cloud full of rain. And Krishna has all his friends and girlfriends. Balaram has his friends too. And Balaram is like Krishna's elder brother. And there's no such thing as the beginning, where one was born first. And there's no such thing as either of them having been born. But that's the relationship that they like to have. And so Krishna His best girlfriend is Radharani, as depicted on the altar. That's Radharani standing next to Krishna. Krishna is the one with the flute. Radharani is standing next to him. And Radharani is, for us, we can say Radharani is the mother side of God. And Radharani is also the topmost devotee of Krishna and also the most intimate girlfriend. Balaram doesn't have anything to do with Radharani. Already, Balaram is an expansion of Krishna, one step away from that intimate relationship with Krishna. Balaram expands into what we call the Vishnu expansions, and you may know of the pictures of Krishna with 4 arms, very formal looking. That's Vishnu. And the Vishnu expansions, they multiply by 4s, and then they multiply beyond that, and it's just unlimited. They are residing over various spiritual planets that are not exactly the same planet as Krishna's own. They are creating material universes and so on, and they expand and expand until they're expanding as super soul. And they sometimes appear in incarnations with only 2 arms too. So, you know, they don't have to have 4 arms. 4 arms is for being formal. So these are all avatars. He comes down. These are all these avatars, and the furthest expansion of these avatars is super soul and every heart and every atom of every universe, which is absolutely incredible. We can't even conceive of it. But this is the super soul, and he's the friend who accompanies us birth after birth. And who is he really? He's just Krishna. He's Krishna who's not manifesting all of his self. He's not manifesting the flute player aspect and the, having girlfriends and taking care of cows. But he's the same Krishna. So we may have rebellion come into this world because we got so jealous we thought we'd try to be Krishna. That's basically why we're all here. But that's our freedom of choice, all free will. We have free will. We decided we'd try to be Krishna. But he has free will too, and he did not decide to give up on us. So he didn't decide to break the relationship, so he's still here. However, we decided to break the relationship, therefore we can't see him until we awaken our pure love, because he remains invisible, because that was our desire. How can you be Krishna if you can see Krishna? So you have to be able to not see him if you want to try to be him. So that was our desire. So now we got to try to change our desires. So this super soul, this friend, is trying to help us. And he helps us get around materially. As long as we still have material desires, he helps us with that too. He hasn't decided to give up on us. But he also helps us spiritually. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a different book, I look back just a little further. Chapter, that's part of here too. Anyways, I'll just do this way. 2:35. Canto 2, Chapter 2. Chapter 2, text 35. Poems are so instant, yet you still have to take time with them. Okay. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, Krishna himself, right, is in every living being as super soul, along with the individual soul. So anytime you see any living entity, be it a tree, a dog, a cow, another human, a bird, a worm, anything, if you have a microscope, you see those little guys, they're all living entities, and there's 2 souls in them. There's the soul and the super soul accompanying that soul. So this fact is perceived and hypothesized in our acts of seeing and taking help from the intelligence. What's the intelligence? God explain what the intelligence is. Okay, there's 8 material elements, not like the science, not like the chemists are dividing up the elements, but in essence, like there's solid, liquid, gas, etc., like that. So there's 8 material elements. The first 5 we can perceive: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, space. We can perceive those things, we can measure them. But then there's 3 more: mind, intelligence, and false ego. And of those, false ego is that very tough and powerful idea that I am this body, which I'm not. But it's a very strong element. It's very hard to get around it. We just really think that even though I'm an eternal spirit soul that's going to travel on, I think I'm this body. It's really powerful, tough kind of element. Then mind. Mind is really busy, isn't it? It's really, really busy, and mind likes to follow the senses. But mind is supposed to be controlled by the intelligence. And what's the function of the intelligence as opposed to the mind? Well, here it says, what is down? Anyone is lit up by yellow when we did the research. I want to read it. I want to make everybody wait for me. I'm just going to tell you. It's in here, but I get self-conscious when people are waiting for me and I can't find something. So the mind, the intelligence is called in this purport to this verse, the form-direction of the super soul. This is Prabhupada's way of explaining in his purport that the super soul is speaking to us by forming our intelligence. Intelligence is a subtle material element, just like false ego and mind. We think I am this mind, but mind isn't spiritual. We're spirit. Mind isn't spiritual. Mind is a subtle kind of matter. So is intelligence. But intelligence is the subtle type of matter that super soul shapes so that he can guide even an animal. Because we're here accustomed, our mind is accustomed to following our senses. We're accustomed to, soul is accustomed to going by the mind and the senses. So we are accustomed to following matter. And so therefore, super soul takes this one type of matter called intelligence and he shapes it to guide us. Trouble is, of course, the mind interferes and interprets it, so we still go wrong. But that is what super soul is doing. That's why how super soul is trying to talk to us, even when we aren't pure enough to hear him. A pure devotee can see him and hear him talk, but that's somebody, real advanced. So we can perceive him in our intelligence, and it's fun to say this, that when we say we are saying a version of Om, who means, which is a sound representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When do we say when we don't know what to say next? I think it's like, so we are consulting intelligence, we are consulting Super Soul's guidance. What's that word I want? We're actually consulting intelligence, consulting Super Soul. We don't know it, but he's been our friend all along. Also, how do we know? We say, suppose we're in some kind of big disaster and everybody's screaming and we're praying in our mind. We assume that he's listening, right? God is listening. Why do we instinctively know that God is listening in a bunch of screaming people? So we instinctively know that the Lord is in our heart. We just know this. Somebody I knew once had this expression, you know with your knower. We know with our knower that God is in our heart, but most of the time we forget we don't know because we're trying to go by other ways of thinking. So anyway, this super soul is in our heart as he's doing this he's using our intelligence as form direction so he can direct us by forming intelligence. So he's trying to direct us as we are able to listen. So he also gives us freedom. We can listen or we can change what he says and make it according to the mind, which is probably following the senses, which are probably leading us astray. So, anyways, what do we do now? What do we do about all this as devotees? Let me go back to the Bhagavad-gita and go to last chapter. Last chapter 18, 61 and 62. So about the super soul. Okay, so I'm just going to do the English. 61. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities. And I just talked about how he does this. Who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. Living entities are sitting on this machine made of matter and trying to follow it, Otherwise we're lost. So Super Soul is there guiding us using an element of that machine, intelligence. So 1862. O Scion of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. So what does it mean to surrender utterly to the Super Soul? Does that mean that you have to be forever, all eternity, a devotee of the Super Soul? I thought we were supposed to be devotees of Krishna. So actually, the whole purpose of Super Soul soul is to be, he is Krishna, only not all of himself is manifested in that role as super soul, because as long as we don't have pure love, we're somewhat offensive, and he's not gonna expose most intimate pastimes to us. So he manifests the more formal aspects of himself. It's Krishna, but he is an expansion of Krishna to bring us to Krishna. So if we surrender to Super Soul utterly, but his whole purpose is to bring us to Krishna. So that is that's our goal here. And let's see, one more thing I want to read. To check them all at the same time. I'll just tell you, instead of looking it up. There's a story in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni, one of the great saints, he went to a king and he was preaching to the king, and the king wasn't very ready to hear, so he made an allegorical story of a king of a city, and the city is the body, and so the king was the soul in the body, trying to enjoy. And eventually he died, and eventually he got another birth as a woman, because in his body as a king he was really attached to his wife. So he got birth as a woman, and she got a really good husband, and he went to the forest in his old age to meditate and to go back to Godhead. So she followed him. And then she found that he had passed away. He was sitting meditating, and she found out he had died, because he didn't move for a long time and he was cold, and she understood he had died and left his body. So then she was crying alone in the forest. What do I do? What do I do? An old Brahmana came to her and said, why are you crying? So she told him and said, don't you remember that you once had a friend? And this old Brahmana was actually Super Soul, manifesting externally as an old man, as an old Brahmana. He's actually Super Soul, her own Super Soul friend, manifested externally. And so he was preaching to her, saying, don't you remember that you once had a friend? We went everywhere together. And kind of left, so she'd come back. So then she understood, she started to understand that, I forget how exactly and how she realized, but idea is that Krishna accompanies us always as a friend and wants us to come back. And we were once in the spiritual world, and he wants us to come back. So I will stop there and see if there's any discussion or questions or comments. Yeah.
So you said, like Vishnu expands out of Balaram. First is Krishna, then expands to Balaram. From Balaram come all other expansions? Real quick, is that including Radharani?
Radharani, no. Radharani is the energy of Krishna. She's Shakti Tattva, which is, I think, is a division of Vishnu Tattva or something. But she's Krishna, but she's Krishna's energy. Okay. So she's the feminine aspect. So but she's not from Balaram.
So we know Vishnu more as Krishna, even though he comes as from Balaram, right? Like we know Lord Chaitanya to be Krishna and Nityananda is Balaram.
Yes.
We understand Vishnu to be more like Krishna, right?
First, let me explain that Lord Chaitanya, it says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, right in the beginning, almost within the first half dozen verses, that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. So most of the other avatars, except when Krishna comes as the colored boy Krishna, they are manifestations of the expansions. Even if they have two arms, they're still Krishna, but they're not all of Krishna. So yeah, then so you've got Krishna and Radha, with Krishna and his energy. And actually Radharani expands into all the gopis, plus there are lots of souls who are in that mood also, individual souls, but there are principal gopis are extensions of Radharani. And Krishna expands himself a lot so that everybody gets a chance to be with Krishna. Like in the Rasa dance, he demonstrated that. Everybody gets to personally be with Krishna. So in the spiritual world, on that level, he expands unlimitedly, and you don't have to wait like a billion years for your turn to see Krishna. You know what I'm saying? So many souls up there, but you have to wait. So
then what about Ram?
Ram, okay.
Does he expand from Vishnu as well?
Yeah, I was going to get there. So then there's Balaram, and Balaram is not Krishna anymore, although he's not different from Krishna. Right. But he doesn't go to Radharani. Okay. Right, so he expands from him, Then the expansions from him, unless some of the coward boys are probably expansions of him too on that level, but then the Vishnu expansions are below Goloka Vrindavan. That's Krishna's planet. They're below, and then start with the quadruple expansions. You heard about them, the Chakravyuha? There's Vasudev, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. And they're always named that when they're in their Vishnu forms, and they expand again and again and again. So the Sankarsana is Balaram, Vasudev is Krishna. But, now, so it's like circles back in a way,
But still
that's
down
not.
from Balaram.
Up and about. Okay, yeah.
Just like Ram is Krishna and Lakshman is Balaram, correct? But they're out of...
Yes, Ram is, actually they're the chapter of Vyuha. Ram is Krishna and Lakshman is Balaram, but also Ram is Vasudev in the chapter of Vyuha. So they're the quadruple expansions because there's 4 brothers. So they're very formal. Like Ram does not have a bunch of girlfriends. He behaves himself very formally. So he's and the Vishnu expansions are all more formal than Krishna. So but they can circle back, and in fact the Lord in your heart, the super soul in your heart can appear as whoever, we talked about that, he can appear as Ram. He can be, if you love Lord Ramachandra, the super soul in your heart will turn into Lord Ramachandra. If you love Lord Krishna, the super soul in your heart will turn into Krishna. Because there's no difference, really. It's just how much is manifested. Of course, if you love Krishna in the mood of Goloka Vrindavan, then he starts to trust you, he's going to manifest that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Can I see some hand movement or somebody not up? Oh, yeah, okay.
The other morning you were saying something about people who, spiritual people who live in the Goloka Vrindavan and possibly the highest platform, but the Vaikuntha planets, they may be able to actually transmigrate or to transfer to Goloka Vrindavan. How is that possible? Because I've heard different opinions on that.
Well, I've heard that you can move. Narada Muni can go from the material world up there and back. You can go everywhere. Mm-hmm. They don't have to change their body. There's no death. But they may adjust their form a little bit or their dress. So, and also they probably, if they want to, they can be a bird singing for Krishna, because in your spiritual world you can do what you want. You can kind of express yourself the way you want to. So, but yeah, somehow, even though it's so vast, it's by devotion. Once I heard a long time ago, I don't know how bona fide this quote is, and I don't know if it came from Prabhupada or somebody said that there are preaching outposts in Vaikuntha for Goloka Vrindavan. And if you think about it, it's a surprising idea. Maybe it's really true. Because then also Prabhupada said there is an ISKCON in the spiritual world. Well, what does ISKCON do here? ISKCON tries to gather souls and bring them to Krishna, right? And if there's an ISKCON in the spiritual world, does it just mean you get there and we're all here and that guy I never got along with, he's here too. Then you have to, how am I going to get along for eternity with this person? Maybe it's not like that. Maybe this ISKCON in the spiritual world is continued preaching to bring us higher. So it's you go where you go out of love and desire. So in the material world, you go where you go out of desire and deserve. You may desire to be a rich man, but you have to be a poor man because you didn't. Or you may desire to be a rich man and you just get to be a rich dog or something, a dog of a rich man, because you don't deserve a human body. So it could be, it's desire and deserve. But when it becomes spiritual, then you go where you go out of love for Krishna and desire. So your desire to love Krishna a certain way carries you there somehow. Make sense?
Sure does.
Anybody else? I love talking about these kind of things. I recently got re-entranced by these kind of things. So.
Yeah, I've heard people say that once you're in Vaikuntha planet, that's it.
No, it's not it. I was worried about that once too. I remember I was relatively new devotee, and I started worrying about it because you kind of go through stages of understanding, and I was like real interested in Super Soul and Vishnu and Vaikuntha planets and stuff like that. I thought, well, what if I go there and everybody else went to Goloka Vrindavan? I die in this stage. I know it's stages, but I die in this stage, and I missed, hearing forever. So I asked it was in a class, I asked my guru this question: what if you get stuck in Vaikuntha? Everybody else is in Goloka Vrindavan. And he said, it was really funny, he cracked a joke. He said, I wish I had that problem, that my disciples get stuck in Vaikuntha. So mostly his disciples, he's trying to get him out of this material world. And he said, no, but there is mobility. And there's a book that proves it by Sanatana Goswami called Brihat Bhagavatamrita. And it tells of us the journey of a soul. And he gets to Vaikuntha, but he's still not satisfied, he's still finding his way. Till finally he gets to his real constitutional position. So yeah, you are not all the way settled or all the way happy until you find your real constitutional position, which is where you came from. So it's waiting for you. I understand.
He kind of shows up just as the next level.
Well, this story had this one person going next level, next level, next level. I don't know if everybody goes in. Maybe some people go different. Maybe somebody gets to go almost straight. It just depends what you awaken. You make a higher stage of advancement in your spiritual practice. Perhaps some people may start to remember, even in this lifetime. Some ISKCON devotees, I'm thinking of one in particular who described just as she was dying, she was starting to remember things of her situation in the spiritual world. So that's what it sounded like she was talking about. And she was afraid that she was imagining it, but she was seeing this thing. So perhaps this memory, the purer you get, this memory, even in this lifetime, starts to awaken. And the more it starts to awaken, the more you're attracted to it, and then it helps you itself. And also Prabhupada said somewhere that in the higher stages of advancement, someone from the spiritual world will come and help you. Maybe one of your friends. I don't know. Or maybe it'll be a traveling spiritual master, or will be maybe somebody coming in your meditation. I'm not sure exactly how that works. Or it could be either way. But, anyway, yeah. There's mobility till you get to your real place. And then you don't want to go anymore. Do you have any questions? Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you all very much, and a very, very nice audience. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All glories to, any questions to all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Madhava-priya.
Thank you very much.